If you want to be a good coach, you want to be a good leader, a parent, a partner, business owner, entrepreneur, there's one thing you have to have in order to positively influence and empower others around you, and that is trust. And trust isn't something that you can buy, it's something that has to be earned over time by what you say and what you do. And more importantly, if you do what you say that you're going to do. That's consistency, that's integrity, and that's really the basis of trust. And assuming that we develop a relationship built on integrity, we can still destroy all of that credibility with our mouths. So how do we use our mouths? How do we use our language to promote trust and create and maintain an openness to influence? And one of the most commonly used tools to create influence and empower others comes in the form of feedback. And I'll put a link in the description for my video on resistance-free feedback. But how do we create trust and openness before we even give feedback? And to do this, we're gonna need something called preframes. And there are 3 preframes that I wanna share with you that are all designed to create psychological safety. When we don't feel safe, we shut down, we become closed off, we become defensive. To better understand why, we need to look at Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And if you haven't seen it before, it looks like this. It's a pyramid with the basic needs at the bottom and the higher level needs higher up on the pyramid. So the bottom line basic need we all have is the physiological need. This is food, water, and shelter. Once we have that need, then we're concerned about safety. Once we have safety satisfied, then we're worried about belonging and then self-esteem. And those are considered the deficiency needs. So we're only motivated by those needs when they're not there. Once we satisfy them, they're no longer a concern. Beyond that, we have the growth need of self-actualization, which is being the best version of ourselves. And here's the thing and why it's relevant for us to think about feedback in the context of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Feedback inherently challenges the basic deficiency needs. Let's imagine we get some intense feedback at work. Well, what does that feedback do? Well, it threatens our ability to feel good about ourselves. It can actually threaten our self-esteem because after all, we're not doing as well as at our job as we thought we were. Well, what does that mean? That means if I'm not doing well, I could actually get fired, which means I don't belong at the company anymore, which is the 3rd level, love and belonging. And if I don't belong with the company, it means I can't get paid, which threatens the bottom 2, safety and security, and even the baseline physiological because I can't provide food, water, and shelter for my family. So your boss giving you feedback at work is threatening all of these, not to mention the self-actualization threat, because then you can't be the best version of yourself where you're trying to work down on the lower levels of Maslow just to kind of survive. Now, I'm not suggesting that everyone who receives feedback has this emotional chain occurring inside, but at an unconscious level, that does kind of make sense. That we're getting feedback that says, hey, you're not very good, you might not belong here, that means you can't provide for your family. That's a pretty big threat to safety, and you can understand why someone would actually be resistant. What we want to do then is figure out how can we create psychological safety, and that's what I'm going to share with you right now. The first one I refer to as the Maslow preframes, because you're actually setting the stage by minimizing the perceived threats against the baseline deficiency Maslow hierarchy of needs. So if we want to pre-frame for self-esteem, it might sound something like this. Hey, just want to let you know, I think you're doing an awesome job in the role and I really value you as part of the team. That takes care of the self-esteem part. Then for belonging, you might say something that's future-based, such as I look forward to working together for a number of years. Now that satisfies the fact that they're not going to be fired, and that means that there's no threat to their safety and security and their physiological needs. So those 2 preframes handle the trickle down all the way through the rest of the hierarchy. The second preframe you can do is to normalize it. Hey, that problem that you just had, that challenge you're going through, don't worry, that's par for the course. Everyone who's ever had your role has gone through the same thing. You are in good company. The third one is to make it even more personal by sharing how you had a similar struggle, if not the identical one that they're going through. That's vulnerability. So number 3 is vulnerability. You say, you know what? Hey, don't worry about it. I've been there. I love where you're going. Keep going. I know firsthand because here's my mistake. And you share something that takes a little bit of vulnerability. You show a chink in your own armor, and that allows them to feel more comfortable so they can actually go forward and not beat themselves up about whatever challenge they're going through. So Maslow preframes, make sure they feel safe, make sure they feel they belong and that they're okay in their identity. and normalize it and share your own challenges along the way. In addition to the relationship building and the integrity that we spoke about that creates trust over time, you can use these language preframes to help the other person be at ease. Maslow preframes, normalization, and sharing your own challenges along the way allows them to lower the defensive so they can actually hear the feedback that you want to give them. Now, if you want to take your feedback to the next level and not only reduce resistance, but make it completely irresistible, check out this video on screen.